The duo cash cups this season are just around the corner, and today we got an update that allows us to play to some incredible advantages. There's gonna be a lot of easy to follow tips you can apply in this video, so I highly recommend sticking around till the end so you can get an upper hand over everyone else playing the tournament. The first thing we need to talk about is the new augment called Game Time. This augment was released today, and when you apply it, you get a pizza with 8 slices inside of it, as well as 3 chug splashes. The reason this is remarkably good this season is because of the new zones and how every game comes down to a heal off. This augment alone allows you to stay inside of a 10-tick zone for 26 seconds, because each slice gives 25 HP. If you have this augment as well as a slurp juice, you'll close up on 50 seconds in zone. Naturally, we gotta have storm sickness in the back of our heads. Storm sickness is a mechanic that makes the storm take 3 times the normal damage of any given zone. So in a 2-tick zone, we'll take 6 damage, in a 5-tick zone, we'll take 15, and in a 10-tick, we'll take 30 damage per second. Storm sickness comes as a warning the second you've taken 500 damage to storm, and it activates when you've taken 600 damage. On the topic of zones, I also need to let you all know that if you want to succeed this season and in these duos cash cups, you need to be confident in shooting your shotgun in final moving when the zone is pulling at the speed of light. But you guys might be thinking, Aaron, of course I'm going to be confident in shooting my gun. Let me explain what I'm saying here. In final moving, since it's moving so incredibly fast, a lot of people stress out, try to play super fast, and limit their own awareness heavily. If you want to succeed, you need to play very slow, gather awareness over the final moving zone. An incredible tip when playing the final seconds of the game is to look at your visual sound effects, seeing if anyone is behind you, to your right, or to your left. It's also detrimental that your trigger discipline is so good that you deal heavy damage when you do take your shots in the final moving zone. Every game comes down to either having very good heals for heal off or being able to eliminate 5 people in the span of 10 seconds. You need to be able to do both if you want to qualify. When it comes to opens tournaments like this one, there's always a question of whether or not you should W key first game. And the answer is simple. The difference in level on players you'll meet after winning a game with 30 kills compared to something like 7 elims will be very minimal. Therefore, going for a high elim first game is definitely worth the risk. The issue we face if we fail to get a high elim first game is that the room for mistakes in our following 9 games will be very minimal. We need insane consistency if we want to qualify. Whereas if we win first game with 30 elims, the room for error is a lot bigger. The point format, if you guys aren't already aware, is 65 placement points to 2 elim points, a 32.5 to 1 ratio. Now this placement to elim ratio is a bit more placement heavy than previous cash cups, but not to the point where playing a totally different playstyle will be beneficial. The meta for cash cups is undeniably just abusing katanas for all that they're worth. This season, you can play edge throughout the mid game, claiming a side, using your red eyes, and making it difficult rotates with the katanas. The same goes for the end games. In end games, you simply use your katana to get to the front side. You want to avoid being fully backside if possible, as this is where you'll have the biggest chance of getting eliminated. Using metal is also more important this season compared to previous ones. Not only because it has way more health than wooden brick, but also because the sound is surprisingly bad. They did mention that the pickaxe bug was taken out in today's update. However, in laggy lobbies or stacked lobbies, footsteps and shooting audio is still very low quality. And often, you can't even hear players walking on your layer. So, since having katanas basically means that your chances of doing well are doubled, what should you do if you don't find any katanas off spawn? First thing you need to instantly think about when you haven't gotten a katana off spawn is getting keys and going to the nearest holo chest vault. Holo chests sell katanas quite often, and this is a great way to secure a katana for the endgame. Another easy way to get a katana is to rotate into Kenjutsu Crossing. There are 10 katana spawns, and if you land nearby, following this strategy will be incredibly viable. But if you're someone who lands on the other side of the map, you get struck with some bad RNG and you just can't find a katana. What you need to do is ensure that you get as much gold as possible to reroll for the aerialist augment. Our goal when playing a tournament is to give ourselves the best odds of winning the game we play. And by getting either aerialist or a katana, we follow that rule. But what if you get no katana or no aerialist? Should you W key for a katana? In opens tournaments, fighting for game-winning loot like a katana can often be worth it. But naturally, you should only go for it if you have an advantage. Don't brainlessly go into a fight. Play slowly with your boy or girl and go for beams. Advantages going into fights can be beams, high ground, the knowledge that you have better heals no matter what, OP weapons like the pulse rifle, you guys get the drill. The main reason some incredibly good fighters don't succeed in competitive is that they fight without any advantages. This is more often than not just a waste of time, mats, and heals, especially when you play in those relatively high elo lobbies. So make sure you get that advantage if you're someone who's comfortable going for those fights in those high elo games. Next up, we gotta discuss what layer is the best to play this season. Is it low ground, mid ground, or high ground? High ground is, as always, incredibly good, and it's actually not super difficult. A lot of people go for height by using their katana, go super high in the sky and land on high ground. The issue with this strategy is that if there is someone good on height, you'll get tagged for 150 plus damage. Tagging people that falls down after using a katana is not difficult at all. A better strategy is chopping. Chopping forces height to either use your katana or reconnect back in storm. Me and Marcus are undeniably going to be having awareness over height in the duo cash cups, as height pretty much secures a top 3 placement if you have okay heals. When it comes to mid ground and low ground, you will most likely find yourself struggling to claim a layer by just tarping. If you want to claim a layer, you need to be very aggressive on the other players on the layer you want to claim. In previous seasons, you could find a free layer to tarp and play, but this season, doing that is remarkably difficult. And if you want to claim a layer, you will most likely have to eliminate a team or even 2. The easiest ways to eliminate players on your layer is either by just getting in when you have awareness over the fact that they have no awareness, or by simply big balling a pre-edit play. If you're gonna go for the latter, you need to full commit, as half committing to a pre-edit play in these movings will more than likely end up killing you. Low ground can be amazing, but you need to have good aim and be ready for players dropping down. Going into zone and claiming space early is also not a bad strategy if you see that others are fighting for low. So to conclude everything I've said in today's video, doing well in the duo cash cup comes down to playing the meta, which is katanas and or aerialist, and being incredibly aggressive in the end game. The mistake a lot of players make is thinking they can just play their mats. You need to play slow, gather awareness, as awareness is as important as ever this season. And you also want to try your very best to save your game time augment till the very final moving. Having this as heal off might be the difference between qualifying and not. And I definitely do not want to see you guys missing out on qual by just a few points. I'll of course be posting a Road to Pro video as soon as I'm done with the duo Kashi, so be on the lookout for that. And with that all being said, thank you so much for tuning in today, and I'll be seeing you very, very soon.